Hey everybody, it's Chase with AV Pop Culture again, and today it's time for some real talk about the state of physical media with LG stopping their production of 4K players. There is a lot of nonsense going on out there, and there's a lot of physical media haters that are trying to jump on the bandwagon and say this is the death of physical media. I'm going to tell you why they are absolutely full of it and why they could not be more wrong. So pop that tape in. I got you. Let's go do this. All right. So I really don't love doing videos like this, but I've had so many people message me worried about the state of physical media after LG announced that they were going to stop making 4K players. And then I go out here in YouTube land and in other places, and I hear people just kind of talking out of their backsides because they are streamers and they hate physical media and all this stuff, and they're using this as a reason to glum onto it. Or in some cases, they're just absolutely uneducated. There is one, and I don't know if I'll be able to put clips in here or not, but there is one person, I don't know this person, they've got a really big following on YouTube, but they did a whole video that has gone viral out there about how this is the death of physical media and making all kinds of outlandish claims, and lo and behold, it's from a person who self-stated doesn't even own any kind of player in their own house, doesn't collect physical media, doesn't buy them.
I realized this yesterday because Ann and I were talking about this. This came up and I realized I don't have a disc player anywhere in my house. I literally don't have anything that if, you handed me and lent me a Blu-ray that I could literally put it in and play.
They're trying to talk about it from a perspective of knowledge on the subject, and they get all kinds of things wrong.
Physical media has been a thing, but it has been dying and going away. The demand for it has dropped perpetually year after year after year. Major producers of Blu-ray machinery stop making them. Oppo was one of the leading builders of Blu-ray players. They stopped. Then Samsung was the number one in the world of making it. They stopped. Sony stopped.
I mean, when you start saying things like Sony stopped production of 4K players, no, they didn't. When you start saying things like Oppo was the number one seller of 4K players, no, they weren't. Like, you lose all credibility. So right now, I want to talk about some things. With LG, it means nothing that LG stopped making 4K players. It means absolutely nothing, and I'm going to tell you why. When they, I had to kind of laugh at this when I started doing my research. What we're looking at right here, if I can put this up, is the rankings of 4K sales over the past few years. Number one in the marketplace, Sony. Right, is Sony. They're number one in the marketplace. Panasonic, actually, since this has came out, Panasonic has overtaken them. But LG was actually fifth in the market behind Sony, behind Panasonic, behind Pioneer, and behind Samsung, who is just selling off their stock because they stopped making them several years ago. So all of these companies, including LG, that stopped making them, they already had a certain amount out there that they've already manufactured, and those keep selling. They've made so many, those are going to sell for a couple of years in some cases. Samsung's for 5-6 years after they stopped selling them. And Samsung, even though they've stopped making them, they haven't stopped selling them. They don't have Dolby Vision. They're missing a lot of things. But they're such a brand name, they were still outselling LG. LG is, for the most part, an entry-level 4K player. Most people go after Panasonic and Sony. Those are the quality brands in in our world of 4K and Blu-ray players. Now, this person's saying, even Sony stopped making Blu-ray players. No, they didn't. Sony laid off a small portion of their company that makes recordable blank Blu-ray discs. Not Blu-ray players, not 4K players, not the commercial discs that we buy from movies that are put out. We're talking about the recordable blank disc that you buy at home. And there are countless others that make those to fill that marketplace. I use those myself. I've never used Sony. There's a company that makes them. They're called Verbatim. That's who I use. But there's just unlimited amounts of people out there making them. It's just a small part of Sony. It has nothing to do with anything else. And yet the death of physical media, people glommed onto that real fast, talking straight out of their ass. Plain and simple. It gets me riled up because as someone who's a teacher, as someone who considered being an attorney, who can, and all this kind of stuff, like the first thing you learn when you're teaching history, because it's all about research, you better start getting your facts straight. And when and that doesn't mean anybody can't make a mistake. I can make a mistake, all that kind of stuff, especially when I get passionate talking about stuff. But when you start to, knock down stuff, you better back it up. You better back it up. And like this person, and they're not the only one, they're literally just talking out of their backside. Just pulling it out, and they're like, oh, it's definitely the death of physical media. LG, they're the greatest. It's the death. If they're not making them, nobody's making them. Let me tell you something. Earlier this year, I'm sure most of you out there know, let me see if I can pull this up. Sony, we all know this. Sony struck a huge, and I'm talking a massive deal. They have kept it under wraps, but it was enough to float Disney's stock back up. I mean, it was a major change because Sony struck a deal to take over all of the new releases and back catalog of everything under the Disney umbrella. Disney, Fox, Touchstone, Searchlight Pictures, Hollywood Pictures, I believe. Everything that Disney owns, Sony struck a massive deal with them to put out those movies, the new ones and the back catalog, on physical media only. Let me say that again. They paid massive dollars to put out just countless movies on nothing but physical media. They have no other rights to them. Disney kept all digital, video on demand, all those rights. It is physical media only. That means DVD, Blu-ray, and 4K. That's it. They paid for those rights alone. Do you think Sony, a massive company, is going to invest all of that money to then stop making 4K players? So they're gonna pay all this money, and the only way they can get anything back on that money is to put those movies out on physical media. And now you think they're gonna stop making the means to play those? Like, on what earth does that make sense? Talk about cutting off your nose to spite your face. It's like, I don't know, like anybody that thinks that's going to happen, you can't handle basic economics. You can't handle basic common sense. Like, I am going to buy all the gas in the world and stop making cars. Like, it doesn't, I mean, you have to have just a hate of physical media and want to go on and be a dipshit that only streams and gets suckered and gets censored content and content cut at any moment and get prices raised on you, get lower quality. You have to be okay with owning nothing and liking it for your money. You have to be dumb to only want one thing in the market. If there's only one thing in the market, you as a customer are forever going to get screwed. and there's tons of examples like that. If there's no competition and there's nowhere else to go, you are at the mercy of whoever wants to do whatever. And they can take away your movies at any time. They can censor them. They can change them. They can use AI. There is a reason I got so angry with Scream Factory. And really, it's the director of Riddick for what seems like a small, innocuous edit of Riddick squeezing the actress's butt, Katie Sackhoff, in the movie. Scream Factory should have let us know, period, the end, that it was altered. There's no reason to have two cuts in 4K if don't tell me that's a theatrical cut, because it isn't. It isn't. It was altered. That should have been the director's cut. If the director didn't want it, that should have been in his cut. The theatrical should have been preserved, or we should have been told. It's because lack of censorship is one of the biggest advantages that physical media has, and I'm not ready to give that back. Censoring is for streaming. Okay, but the thought that they're all of a sudden going to stop, but because LG, who's like 5th in the marketplace, stops making their entry-level 4K players that are loud, and I'm not trying to knock LG because they make great TVs, right? But when it comes to the 4K players, they're not in the world of Sony and Panasonic as far as quality. They're not. Period. They're not. Panasonic even. There's the chip in the Panasonic UB20 and above. That chip is also found in a lot of like 8K, 4K, and 8K capable projectors that are in movie theaters. It's like back in the day when digital light projection started and you had the Christie projectors. The Sony DLP chip it powered those Christie projectors. And that chip is going to offer you a lot more clarity. I love my Sony. The Samsung is going to be up above it just a little bit. Since they're in the same price range, that's cool to me. But they're above LG. They are. You may be getting great performance out of your LG. It's still not as good as the Sony and the Panasonic. It just isn't. It doesn't have the same kind of capability. There might be features that you like better. You might like the remote better or whatever. But they're still considered, for the most part, they made mostly entry-level ones. And they had fallen behind in sales to a company that wasn't even manufacturing them anymore. They were just selling off old dead stock. So it's not cost effective. They're focusing more on TVs. And I'm going to tell you part of the reason. They are probably about to jump into this market where we're going to get the quantum dot OLEDs. So we're going to get, the newest thing is going to be the combination of all the best worlds of a QLED or mini LED TV and all the best worlds of an OLED combined together. There's some out there in the marketplace already. You're going to start to see those go forward more. And I think LG is about to focus on that. But that is where a lot of that's coming from. Also, if you want to just live in the land of streaming only, you're at the mercy of constantly changing high prices, constant content being taken away, lower quality, and you're at the mercy of an internet provider. You've got to have internet, and you've got to have fast internet. And people who live in cities and they live in these damn bubbles that they think everything is just like their echo chamber. There are probably 200 million Americans that don't have, there's at least half America probably that doesn't have internet in their home or internet capable to stream 4K. So get outside of your bubble and understand that just because something is in the way it is in your world and you can afford the fastest internet and you have the access to the fastest internet, not everybody does. Not everybody does. So you got to understand that too. But in no way is Sony about to stop making 4K players when they just paid untold sums of money to make content that go on those players. They're just not going to do it. They're also talking about how, 4K sales, this and that, they're going down. Physical media sales are going down. Listen, y'all, if there is a $2 billion market for something or more, there is going to be people there to get a piece of that market. I don't think you really understand how much $2 billion is. That's a lot of money. And it's just going up. Those of us who collect and like physical media, we see how fast stuff sells out. We see how fast they keep reissuing things because things keep selling out and they can just get more and more and more money, right? The prices are going up. The demand is going up. We don't like to see the prices going up either. We got to fight back and keep those prices fair. But at the same time, they can't charge that if the market's not there. Do you understand? Like, it's simple economics at that point. You can't charge a premium if there's nobody there to pay the premium. So my thought is we need to push those prices back down a little bit so that we expand it more, because some people are going to say it's cost prohibitive to get into. I would argue streaming is cost prohibitive. When you start having to pay expensive fast internet to have it, and then you've got 6-7 different streaming services trying to keep up with it, you're paying a lot of money. If you're paying, $60 a month for your streaming, and you're paying another $60 a month even for your internet, and that's slow because you gotta have a router and all that kind of stuff too. If you're paying $120 a month, that's what, $1,500 a year almost. You buy a shit ton of movies for $1,500 a year. I'm just going to tell you that right now. You buy a lot for $1,500 a year, and nobody can ever take them from you. So to that end, we know in this community that 4K is starting to take off. Last year, 4K sales were up almost 17%. So far this year, they're up another 7.8%. I don't know if I have that pulled up. In the first 2 quarters, the 4Ks were over that. So it climbed up 17%, and then over that, we're climbing up again. So 4K sales are rising. As long as that happens, you're going to have people like Sony. You're going to have people like Panasonic, Pioneer. And when you start to break down numbers and you realize that now the physical media, the home physical media market sales are 4 times larger than the theatrical market. The home theater market, 4 times larger. That is pretty big. And I mean, I'm a save the theaters guy, but that is big. Okay. So you have to take some of this with a grain of salt that people are saying, because there are people out there that have a vested interest. They just hate physical media. They think that anybody that buys physical is a dinosaur. They're happy with owning nothing and liking it. I am not. You don't own any of that digital stuff. Need I remind you about like ultraviolet and all that stuff? That can be gone at any moment. As a matter of fact, they're starting to put disclaimers that you don't own anything that you're buying, any of these movies that you're buying digitally. You don't own them. You're basically licensing them, and they can be taken from you at any time. Whereas this right here, this piece of physical media, you come try to take it from me. I'm 6'3", 250 pounds. Good luck. You can't come take it from me. All right. This is mine forever. That there's pride of ownership. There is a curation that it's protecting it for generations that you're not going to have from streaming. And streaming, while we're at it, is been taking some blows here too. There was an article that came out just a few months ago. A major UK retailer says its 4K and Blu-ray sales are rising faster than they imagine, and it should be a wake-up call for ad riddled streaming sites. That's the other thing. We were sold that streaming was going to be everything cable wasn't. It's just becoming everything that was the worst parts of cable, and they're charging you more for it. Period. So you're getting these streaming companies, now they're adding ads, tons of ads, and raising the prices. So now you've got to marry yourself to a bunch of different streaming services and watch ads and pay a subscription that they keep changing the terms, the cost anytime they want to. And they are in such a bad way that you have multiple huge streaming services. I've talked about this on other videos. They're combining themselves into a bundle and being offered on cable. On cable. The thing they were going to kill, the thing they said they were better than, all they are is a glorified premium channel with commercials being offered on cable TV. You can buy bundles of your favorite streaming services through Xfinity, Comcast, and other providers like that. They are nothing but a cable channel at this point that changes content and price at any time they want to. They would not be combining themselves to be offered through cable if they were doing so great. I can promise you that. The truth is, YouTube is maybe the greatest threat to all of the streaming services, because YouTube is watched more than the streaming services. Because people like you, people like me, we like to watch our movies or go to the movies, and we like to watch YouTube content. And we don't need all the other stuff. That's their biggest fear right there. And that's what I do. I watch other YouTubers and I watch my movies. That's what I watch. And that's what a lot of people are doing. And so you don't need to keep a bunch of streaming services for that. You can just buy the things that you want and not have all those costs. So that is like in DVD sales are still high too, believe it or not, but they are dropping because 4K is rising, right? And it's just something that's been bothering me. And people, so there's also other 4K manufacturers that are starting to dip their toe into the market. So a lot of you may not know, and I don't even see, it's not even here. So like this guy also said that Oppo was the number one. They had a great product, but they weren't outselling Sony and stuff like that. So that, no. But you have other ones in the market that nobody ever talks of. Hualu, I don't even know who that is. Philips Electronics, Toshiba, Keshing, Baru, Bevix. There's Oppo down there. But you have other ones that are coming in making 4Ks players. Here is one. So I know this company. This is Tascam. And hopefully I can put this up here. This is Tascam. They make professional audio and video equipment for filmmakers. Okay? They have a professional grade 4K player that they've put on the market. And I'm not even sure how long this had been on the market, but they are going to start making more, is what I've heard. They've got this one, and this thing looks like a professional, and it will play anything you put in it. Tascam is literally professional filmmaker quality stuff. So if they come to the market with this type of 4K player here, that is pretty interesting. Now you're going to get a lot of people that may not know how to work this thing, because it's like built like a tank, and it is something they've never heard of. But it supports everything, HDR10, Dolby Vision, all that stuff, and it'll play anything that you put in it. And so if they start making more, they could be a threat, because they're literally to the top 2 or 3, because they're literally professional grade equipment for Tascam is. So that is an interesting thing with me. You may not get, they're going to need to make a more like average consumer friendly model, because they don't have like all the little things, the consumer like bells and whistles that people are used to necessarily. Because it's made for the professional in mind. But it is one, if they've dipped their toe in here, I would like to see them start making more, but that's one I never hear anybody talk about. So there are going to be other manufacturers that come in. We are continuing to get more and more boutiques. Today, big news of a 4K announcement. Let me see if I can pull this thing up here. Hopefully I've got this up where I can show you guys my screen. I think Dawn of the Disc is, several others are reporting it. I shared it on my community tab. We're getting Reanimator from Ignite Films. This is a boutique that, I'll be honest, I've never heard of. They haven't put out very much stuff, but this is a massive title, a massive release they're doing, and we're getting more and more and more into the market with these boutiques, and the boutiques are growing. You can't. It's very hard to ever kill a format. Vinyl and records. Like, I read something that said there are more companies making record players today than there was when it was the preferred and only medium, like the biggest selling medium. So, you've got a lot of choices. It's never going to go away. As much as people want to kill it, it won't. And when they lose their streaming and they can't afford their streaming and streaming gets stuff taken away, we've got it here. There's more boutiques coming. I would love to have my own boutique and restore films and put out films. It's an expensive thing to get started on, right? Because I've worked with it before. I've worked with film, everything. I would love to restore films. I look at a company like Ignite Films. I don't know a lot about them, but they got their hands on Reanimator. And some people are like, oh, well, this is too expensive. They gave you a bunch of different options all the way down to a standard and to a Blu-ray, and like their standard is $40. That's about on par. But they gave you a bunch of options. My guess is they're a very small company. They spent a shit ton of money to license this thing and a shit ton of money to do this restoration and put it out here in 4K. And they went all in with a big title people are waiting on. So Reanimator, from another company that's almost like an upstart. Like, look, Ignite Films, they got 1,000 followers on Instagram. That's it. I would love to review this movie for them and put it out there, because that's the kind of shit I want. I want more people like that just thumbing their nose at these haters that are trying to glum on to anything that they can say might be the death of physical media when they don't know their ass from a hole in the ground. They don't know what a 4K restoration is. They don't know the people that went into making that film. They don't know the craftsmanship that it takes to restore a film, the passion, the love. They're just like, oh, it's convenient to click streaming. Fuck you. All right? Stop trading convenience over quality. Stop trading all of that's not what America was built on. We were built on work and craftsmanship and making things that are quality, right? I don't want shit quality. I don't want a shit copy paste piece of artwork from, that's the craftsmanship that went into the Mona Lisa, the craftsmanship that went into the Statue of David, the craftsmanship that went into making Gone with the Wind or The Shining or anything like that. That is what we are celebrating and preserving here. That art, that's what we're here to preserve. And that, I just had to get this off my chest. I know a lot of people are worried about it, and I'm tired of seeing this stuff. Like myself, I told my live stream, my film, Bring Me a Dream, I thought I had it setting here. Magnolia Pictures put it out. They're deciding that maybe they are just going to do digital with it. And I pushed, and I was like, well, then give me my physical media rights back, and I'll put it out myself. And instead, I said, you know what? I review stuff for Vinegar Syndrome. They don't send me anything for free, but I love Vinegar Syndrome label. I love all these other labels. Let's get into one of these boutiques. Let's put the movie in there. I got an email back. Magnolia and Indican Pictures are talking with Vinegar Syndrome about putting my movie Bring Me a Dream, the one that stars Tyler Mane and Martin Cove, out on through Vinegar Syndrome. That would be awesome. Get the more movies into the boutiques. Let's expand the boutiques. If I could open one myself, I would, because I am tired of people trying to kill something that they don't know about and they don't care about and they do not appreciate, and trying to spread fear, hoping. I read the comments and people are like, oh, well, I might as well sell my stuff. Might as well get rid of my stuff. It's dead. It's dead. Because that's their source of information, and you're deliberately misleading them, and you're not checking your facts because you're uneducated on the topic and you're on the other side. That's like, it blows my mind. Sometimes I'm at a loss for words, which is a damn trick for me because I'm not normally at a loss for words. But when you start telling me all about how physical media is this and physical media is that, and then you tell me you don't own any physical media and you don't even own a disc player in your house, My suggestion is shut up because you don't know what you're talking about. And you don't have to look to find me if you don't like it. I'm not a negative person at all, but when you attack people or things that I care about, and to me, that kind of stuff is an attack on everybody that makes films and everybody that tries to restore films and everybody that collects films. It's a collective attack when you start trying to fear monger and spread misinformation. Just do a little bit of research, and maybe, people speak out of turn. They just get caught up. If you're doing it for clicks and you're spreading shit out there that's not true, man, get your facts straight. All of you, anywhere. Don't just put the facts out there. Put the facts out there. And that's what I was trying to do here. And I'm by no means am I perfect either. But here's a little something to kind of leave you with. Streaming was estimated to be valued collectively at $554 billion in 2023. Their revenue is barely going to exceed $40 billion collectively in 2024. Estimated. It may not even be that high. So there's a very big disconnect in what it's being valued as and what it's generating. So that's a hell of a difference. And I mean, that's a whole different economic thing, but when you're very, it's being very overvalued. And the question is, ask yourself why. It goes back to one of my early videos. The why is they want to kill physical media. A lot of these, because they would rather walk off the cliff than admit that they were wrong when they changed the old model of releasing in a theater and then 6 months later releasing it for rent, and then several months after that releasing it for sale on physical media, and then another year after that releasing it on cable, and then later putting it on TV. They had all of these revenue windows that they used to have, and now they don't. They screwed themselves out of it. So their only way to save it is to try to double and triple down on streaming and tell you that you're better off just getting streaming and not DVDs or Blu-rays or 4Ks, because now they don't have to put money into those to make them. And they can just force feed it here. They don't have to put a lot of marketing in the theater. They can put it in the theater. They can kill the theaters right along with it and just hand to mouth feed you the cheapest shit junk food. It's fast food. It's fast food the way they're doing it, and they don't want to admit that it's wrong. So the best way is to keep telling you that something that you see is better is not better. They ask you, is the first fundamental thing is to ignore the evidence of your eyes and ears, right? So just take it all with a grain of salt. I'm not infallible or anything either, but I can look up facts for myself, and I can see which way the wind's blowing, and I can see movies selling out. I can see an increase year over year in sales. I can see when something's being undervalued and over-delivering, like physical media and the boutiques and all that stuff, and when something's being overvalued, like valuing something at $550 billion collectively, and it's only making $40 billion collectively or less, that's overvaluing and under-delivering. And that's what's happening with streaming. In the meantime, they're trying to tell you this is dead when it's selling out. Prices are hitting record highs and selling out and all that stuff, and we're increasing in sales. So don't let people scare you. This isn't going anywhere. Buy the movies you love. Collect the movies you love. Preserve it. Fight censorship in any form. Don't support that. And, get out there and love it, man. I'm very passionate about movies and about physical media. And to me, it's art, and art should be preserved at all costs. And art is not disposable. And that's what streaming is to these people. So that's what I got for you today. Just a little passion and a little bit of news for you. Feel good out there. And if you enjoyed this is a little bit different. We do a lot of physical media news here. 4K reviews, lists, rankings from a fan and filmmaker's perspective, all that stuff. If you enjoyed it, please like and subscribe. It really does help out the channel out here, helps keep me going, and helps the physical media world. If you join the channel, you can do that below here on YouTube or at my Patreon link, and all that gets you your name and lights here. You get special access videos, all kinds of stuff, and it really does help out the channel too. I supply links to everything below. If you buy on Amazon, that helps too. And it just helps keep all this physical media going. Maybe I'll have a boutique one day and we'll restore some cool ass shit. Who knows? But until next time, be kind, rewind like always. This is Chase with AV Pop Culture, and I'll see you real soon. Bye-bye. Long live physical media. It's the new flesh. Bye-bye.